Hello, everyone, once again for Volume 4 of the Disney Compendium, the 1941 classic Dumbo, um, one of Disney's shorter feature-length films. I am your host, JJ, and on the other end of my line over here is...
Nick. I am Nick, and JJ, we're talking off the air, and boy, are we going to have a conflict of opinion here.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it. So, yeah, Dumbo. Like I said earlier, this movie just clocks in just over an hour at 64 minutes. So, it moves. That was one of the things we were talking about. It clips along at a breakneck speed and doesn't waste a whole lot of time just giving you a story.
It's the Rocky IV of Disney animated features.
Dumbo has to get revenge on the clowns.
Yes. Let's get rid of the clowns.
Yeah, I mean, there's reasons for why this movie is the way it is. We'll get to it in a bit, but I think we should get a little bit of backstory on Dumbo, because typically the Disney movies have been sort of adaptations in one way or another. You know, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Pinocchio. They were adaptations of, fairy tales and other pre-existing stories. And Fantasia, you could argue, it's visual adaptations of the music, or the Sorcerer's Apprentice poem and stuff like that. So
yeah,
there's adaptations. Dumbo is a little different because it is not really an adaptation of a story in the traditional sense. It's adapted from the storyline for a toy.
From a toy.
Yeah, well, yeah. It was like those panorama things where it's just like they spin around and they're like have artwork and stuff on them and things. It was called Roll-a-Book, and it was a storyline for the main character of Jumbo Jr. Yeah, so it's a different sort of. It has eight drawings in it and some text, and it's just a little. It's just it's a children's toy essentially. So it's the G.I. Joe or the Transformers of the 40s essentially. Make a cartoon around this toy idea. So.
I mean, or you could say, comparatively speaking, like maybe how Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was like a promotion by Montgomery Wards.
Yeah,
and it became Christmas canon.
Yeah, so I mean, so it's very kind of So Disney heard about it. They had their merchandising guy, Kay Kamen. He saw it and relayed that to the Disney company, and they're like, "This sounds like a good idea." So
what we didn't do with those last movies? Make money off of anything.
Yeah, so
let's make merchandise the movie.
Yeah, so they got the rights to Dumbo, the Jumbo Jr. So Dumbo, Dumbo is a cruel nickname. So we still call him Dumbo to this day, even though it's not his name. His name is Jumbo Jr. So Dumbo is just what they call him because he's dumb. So that was their. Doesn't talk.
But is he dumb? Or does he just have big dumb ears?
But also, remember, people used to call mute people dumb.
Yeah.
So
1940s.
He doesn't have a voice actor or anything. He doesn't talk throughout the entire movie. So, because remember, they also used to call Rudolph dumb too, and that's going back to that because he didn't talk for a while, so they were worried he was dumb. So
one of the many problems with social norms that were present in this movie.
Yeah. Yes. Just one of the many issues we have to touch upon when we get to this. Mm-hmm. So the movie is obviously the follow-up to Fantasia, where Fantasia made quite literally $0 for anybody at the time. Like, it didn't make its money back at the thing. There wasn't at the box office, and they were in debt to other studios, and the people that lent them money didn't get their money back. And Disney's having some problems at this point. So it comes down like, okay, we've got the war in Europe, so we're not getting any money from overseas tickets. We need an influx of money. We need to make money, so we need to make this movie as quickly and cheaply as possible. So that's why watching this movie, it's 64 minutes. It doesn't have the same sort of flourish, I guess would be the right word. Like, it doesn't have like the sort of minute attention to detail and everything that you would get from the previous 3 movies. And another thing, not
a lot of exposition for this movie.
Yeah, they don't spend a lot of time.
This thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of like, let's just this will be a fun scene. It doesn't really mean anything, but it'll be a fun scene. But there's none of that. And also, and we're going to get to it in a little more detail in a little bit after we sort of talk about the movie itself a little bit, but this is also a victim of the studio strike of 1941. So the strike happened after the sort of initial rough animation of the like started for or finished for Dumbo. So, you know, they ran into some unexpected roadblocks, although unexpected to Walt and not unexpected to a lot of the other people working at the company. And so
had a lot of stuff working against it.
This movie had a lot working against it.
Yeah,
but I mean, it worked for. In the end, I mean, this movie makes money. It had a budget of $950,000. It made 1.6. So not a lot of money, but it did make money. This movie had its worldwide. This is a good time to talk about this one because this movie's premiere is October 23rd, 1941. So we're only a couple of days away from the anniversary of Dumbo's premiere in New York.
And this is also 2 months before Pearl Harbor. So
yeah. So you know, this is also why this movie was pushed out in the time it was. Because think about the last 2 episodes we've been talking about how they're working on Bambi. Bambi's still not out yet at this point, and so Dumbo comes out before Bambi because Bambi's taking a lot of time and costing them a lot of money and a lot of resources. So Bambi will be the next movie, and that'll be like, well, we made money, so we can, you know, now spend money again. So, but yeah, this movie has its worldwide release opening, or not worldwide, but like its wide release in the United States because there was no worldwide opening for this movie given the time frame it's in.
Yeah, because again, we hadn't joined World War II yet. Everybody else fully engaged.
Yes, fully engaged. There was you were getting no money from Europe at all, like, period. And it comes into play a little later because money that they were making in Europe post-war had to stay in Europe. So that's why you start seeing Disney pivoting towards live action so they could go overseas and film movies in Europe using money that they have locked up in Europe because they can't get it to the studio to make whatever cartoon they were working on or whatever they're working on at the studio at the time. That's neither here nor there because we're not going to talk about any of those movies, but just shove that in there. But yeah, Halloween is when it had its nationwide opening. So, you know, when we're recording this, it's a pretty timely movie.
2 weeks out, yeah. Now I'm disappointed because this is how I learned that we're not going to cover the computer wore tennis shoes. So thanks, JJ.
Well, I mean, look, after we cover all the animated movies, who knows what the future holds? We could live action, theme parks, all kinds of stuff. The world is our oyster.
That's going to be for our
but only after 57 weeks of cartoons.
That's for our follow-up podcast, Kurt Russell in a turtleneck in the 60s.
Yeah. So literally everything Kurt Russell was in the 60s. But yeah, now we can actually get to the movie, and this is where we get to the point of contention between me and Nick, because I kind of don't really like this movie. I'm not going to say I hate it, but it is my least favorite so far of the ones that we've been going through. Of the four that we'll be doing after today, this one's the bottom of the list for me.
And I love this movie, and of the four we've done, it's not my favorite. I'm going to go ahead and give you like my list now in a way. Like, it's of the ones we've reviewed so far, it's going to be my second favorite behind Fantasia.
Okay,
but I love Dumbo,
and it's not anything. It's like it doesn't have much to do with like the movie itself. The movie is super charming. I think like you really feel they do a good job of making you feel for Dumbo in the movie, and you feel emotionally connected to Dumbo like out the gate. So,
yeah, like I mean, they set that as soon as Baby of Mine kicks in, they set that tone pretty quick.
I absolutely love that song.
Yeah,
that is a phenomenal song. It's probably one of it's because it's so sweet and tender, and it's like a little. It is like the kind of song that you expect your like mom to sing you when you were a little boy. Yeah. It serves its purpose really well, and it's a really, really good song. Everyone remembers the song we'll get to in a little bit of the Elephant Fly song, but I think it's such a good song. It was nominated for an Academy Award.
Well, I mean, it was if you guys have seen the live action teaser trailer, they use like a kind of like a more melodic version of that song, which is a good idea. Yes. But also, I like the Casey Jr. song a lot.
Yeah, I can't talk anything bad about the Casey Jr. The music in this is fantastic. Period. The music in this movie is absolutely fantastic. It's wonderfully scored. It's got some really good like memorable songs in it. The Casey Jr. song's great. Baby Mine is great, and even as problematic as it is, I've seen an Elephant Fly song is pretty good. It's a pretty good, memorable song.
You know what's funny, and I was thinking about this. So of the movies we've done so far, we've done Fantasia, and we've done Pinocchio and Snow White, and so I think this is the only one that, for its time, it was contemporary for the period in which it was made, meaning everything looks like it was kind of 1940s style.
Yeah, it's sort of because it's circus themed. It has a sort of timelessness to it because circuses even to this day still maintain that theme. Like you step into a circus and it does feel like it is a time capsule of when circuses were at their peak, and like everyone's dressed in their conductor outfits, a ringmaster and things like that, clowns and what have you, like it because of, and the music, as we were saying earlier, is contemporary enough too.
The music sounded like 1940s era music.
Yeah.
Like you can imagine like the Andrews sisters singing "Baby of Mine."
Yes, exactly. I mean, obviously the Elephant Fly song, little more dated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, we'll get to I also Pink Elephants, great song.
Yeah. Pink Elephants on Parade is
beware.
Yeah.
What'll I do?
Yeah.
What'll I do?
Yeah. It's the music in this is absolutely my favorite part of the movie.
Oh yeah.
I think it's. I mean, like, you take Fantasia out of the equation because you can't really say like of the movies we've talked about so far, it's got the best soundtrack, because Fantasia really technically has the best soundtrack. It's just because of the way
it's cheating. Original soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean it's
best original soundtrack.
Yeah, it's the best in-house original soundtrack.
Right.
But okay, we haven't even really talked about much of the movie other than I mean, it really is just a movie about bullying.
Kind of, and how terrible everybody in the world is.
There are only like two people that are like overwhelmingly nice to him, with his mom and Timothy Q. Mouse. and the crows like warm up to him. Like,
yeah, and even at the end
first, but then they hear his story and they're like, "Oh, never mind. Yeah, you're cool."
And at the end, the cranky old bitty elephants kind of are cool with him, which is weird.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden he's famous. Like, oh man,
yeah,
I was with you from the beginning, dog.
Yeah,
remember me from the neighborhood.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it really is this super like this movie's. It spends a lot of time doing nothing. Like it just like we got it. It doesn't spend a lot of time doing anything. It's just like, okay, here he is. Here's the storks doing their delivery, and now we've got here's the elephant. He's got big ears. Isn't that weird? Like they all like they got the storm scene where they're like setting up circus tents and stuff, and then Dumbo gets dirty, so you have to clean him, and then he's getting teased by everyone else again. And,
just a lot of ridicule.
Yeah, so, like, and to be fair, in terms of how it plays out, because Mom gets Mrs. Jumbo gets locked up because she attacks the kids.
Mad elephant.
Yes, they have to lock her up, and it's like, well, I mean, like the elephant, like it's garbage that you have an elephant. Like back then it was okay, but she did try to attack kids, and I get like they don't know. Yeah. Like I get why she's locked up, but
but to be fair, that kid was a ginger, so
yeah. I want to apologize on behalf to all redheaded people for my co-host.
I do, and I also want to apologize to our redheaded people for your lack of souls. So
thank you for
sorry.
We are not going to get that Wendy's sponsorship. Thank you. I wanted a Baconator, but now I'm going to have to pay for it like a sucker.
Well, hey, kind of like redeeming myself here. So, we always talk about how like the first time we saw these movies. And you mentioned the stork kind of reminded me because it was Sterling Holloway did the voice of the stork.
Yes.
The first time I saw this movie was
in virtually everything.
Yes. The first time I saw this movie was actually like my grandma had a VHS tape. She taped off the Disney Channel or something, and it was this and Lambert, and he was the stork in that as well.
Yeah. Good. So that's your entry point into the work of him is stork on stork.
Mama. Well, you know what? Lambert's actually not that different from Dumbo, so I wonder that's why they aired at the same time.
Yeah.
They're similar.
Yeah. So then we have the like Dumbo screwing up the pyramid stunt.
And I almost said you said screw up the pyramid scheme. Like what?
Yeah, no, he signed up to sell cosmetics to the other elephants.
Dumbo was a MLM hun.
But no, so that's where everything just falls apart for Dumbo completely. Is like he's a clown elephant. So that's fun.
We'll just dump on this baby elephant the whole movie. Yeah. I mean, again, there's nobody in this movie besides Timothy and his mom, and to a lesser extent the crows that have any redeeming qualities.
Yeah, no, period. Like it is weird to me that they are treating this animal both as an animal and as sort of like a person because they're punishing him by making him like a clown. Like the elephant doesn't know if it were really an elephant exactly what's going on. Like,
yeah.
So the punishment means nothing except to you, unless you accept the fact that these in this universe animals have, human-like attributes or whatever. So
I mean, in this universe, animals do have the ability to sing.
Yeah, but do the clowns know that? Like, or whatever. So,
I don't know.
Or is it like
speaking of no soul?
Is it a Toy Story situation where they're only allowed to talk and sing when humans aren't around? You never.
Well, I mean, the humans aren't at any point going like, "Hey, look at those crows up there on the line, dressed in like zoot suits and pork pie hats."
Yeah,
that's a thing.
You would think, like, if you saw that, you'd be like, "Man, we need to get them into the circus. This is an act." Right? Also, I love the I was reading the Wikipedia plot summary for this just for fun, because that's sometimes really fun to do, and because it's so short, it's like 2 paragraphs long. And I love their follow up after he becomes a clown, and they explain, like, you know, he falls into a vat of pie filling, because the next line sums up the story of Dumbo really, really well. Despite his newfound popularity and fame, Dumbo dislikes this job and is now more miserable than ever.
Dumbo, the first millennial.
Yeah. just like more miserable than ever. So what does he do? He's reached his absolute rock bottom. He's sad. He's crying. So what happens? Timothy Q. Mouse takes him for a drink. He gets drunk.
How about a big square one?
Just like, okay, not intentionally, obviously. The way it plays out in the movie is they drink from a water bucket, which the clowns knocked champagne into, which is the clowns drinking champagne after a circus performance seems like just the weirdest.
So it's just like these clowns gonna get a bottle of Cristal.
Yeah, oh my God,
they're gonna celebrate.
Yeah, it's not like the way you mentally picture clowns. It's like, oh yeah, those high society clowns celebrating
with their bottle of. And also, like, this is a pretty big water bucket, so that champagne's not diluted at all, or.
Yeah, but also, I mean, Timothy Q. Mouse, I can understand. He's like, you know, he's 12 ounces himself. Like, you know, it doesn't take much to get him drunk. Jumbo Jr. here feels like he needs a substantial more amount of booze.
So we're on the subject of Timothy, and I kind of hit it out last.
Oh,
Rich man or poor man? Still there?
Oh, I'm lost you. Start over. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so I talked about last week. Timothy, rich man or poor man is Jiminy Cricket.
It's almost a lateral move, because he's certainly poor, but like I think he does a much better job at being a support character for Dumbo. Like, he doesn't abandon him once he partners up with him. So he's actually he's better at being Dumbo's conscience than Jiminy Cricket was.
Well, and I'll tell you, here's why I like Timothy better than Jiminy Cricket. And I love Jiminy Cricket, but Timothy's got an edge to him.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, he verbally berates the crows for giving Dumbo, like, making Dumbo feel bad.
He's a carny, and we love our carnies, me and Nick. So
hey, brother! No, Texas two-step, slip in a banana peel and go home.
Like, another life, Timothy Q. Mouse would be like a wrestling promoter for a mouse wrestling organization. But
look at the marks out here.
I mean, and also, it's really, I like that it's a mouse. It's really cute because of the whole, you know, elephants are afraid of mice thing. So it's a good choice for Timothy to be a little mouse.
And it works because the busybody elephants, the ones who we ridiculed in the beginning, are afraid of Timothy, and Dumbo's just too innocent to have an opinion.
Have an opinion on Timothy at all. Exactly.
Yeah,
so yeah, that's when. So they get drunk off of clown champagne. And
I feel like I need to bottle that stuff now.
Yeah, Disney
clown champagne.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that you would find at Disney World. Like, Over at Epcot, you can get a fresh bottle of clown champagne. It's watered down. It's 90% water.
I feel like clown champagne is not hot. It's something like you would get at the Samco at 2 a.m. and you're just going through. You're just working through some stuff with your clown champagne.
It comes in a paper bag. It's great, but that's where you get the ever so infamous Pink Elephants on Parade hallucination scene, which absolutely terrified me as a child.
I think, yeah, I always think of Pink Elephants Parade and Unparade and Heffalumps and Woozles are always kind of they're always kind of like intertwined for me as far as like, oh my god.
Yeah, you could probably string them back to back and you wouldn't know that it was two separate songs, I think. Yeah, I just remember being like, as a kid, it's very just visually upsetting.
Well, I mean, this part, like, they're ice skating, and now they're like doing some horrible.
Yeah, just like, body horror and stuff,
like human centipede elephant stuff.
Yeah, it's all in that like high vis color scheme of neons and stuff, and
yeah,
it's crazy. But that it dovetails like that moment of horribleness dovetails in a completely different style of horribleness after that, because they wake up in a tree the next day, and that's where they figure out, like, well, the only reason we could have gotten up here is if you flew up here. Don't know. Okay,
that's logic.
That's logic. That seems logical. A giant elephant flew up there. It's your first thought, I guess.
I love how, like, so this movie's kind of like, hey man, drinking's bad, and he's got a hangover and he feels terrible. Yeah. But this other thing we're about to show you is totally fine.
Yeah. And so this is when you run into the crows.
Yeah.
And so the lead crow is literally named Jim Crow.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, oh boy, is it a very special scene.
Okay. I want to equate it to Amos and Andy levels of racism.
Yeah.
But I guess the fact that they actually got like African Americans to do the voice acting makes it slightly less terrible.
Yeah, except for Jim Crow.
Yeah.
The lead crow is, his number one hit song is "Singing in the Rain." And so he's out here speaking. I don't know. You can't really talk about it without like.
It's okay. I speak jive.
Yeah. It's weird, and it's hard to watch. Like now, it's a fun song, but also you listen to it and you're like, I don't know about this, boss. Like this isn't
just like this really exaggerated way of speaking.
Yeah, it is. It is the old, like, Al Jolson style. Like, this is the African American dialect. This is exactly how they talk and sing, and I'm going to sing exactly like that. With you have to admit the one thing is they're probably the smartest characters, those crows, in this entire movie. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Like, well, they understand wordplay. They understand like a lot of stuff going on. But
the thing is about the crows, and so I'm conflicted in a way because they're terrible stereotypes.
Yeah,
they're just awful. But on another level, I actually freaking love the crows in this movie.
I know.
Like, as characters, I love the crows.
They are the most fully realized, like, non-main characters. Like, even the mom isn't really that, multi-dimensional of a character. Like, you understand these crows, who they are, what their motivations are, what they, they're the most entertaining, like secondary characters in the movie, and it's hard to sort of like, and it sucks because like they just so racist, and this is 1941, like we're already starting to move away from some of that stuff, but Disney Studios is just still like holding strong to this whole thing.
No, it's totally fine.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's okay because coming up shortly, you're going to have different culturally acceptable racism. So, like, because of the war.
The thing with the crows is, and I look at this level, like you think of all the supporting characters in the movies we've done so far.
Yeah.
The crows are the only ones I would actually like want to hang out with so far.
Yeah.
Like, I want to hang out with the crows. They seem friggin' rad.
They seem fun. They seem like they're having a good time out there. They know what they want in life, and they're taking it. So,
but awful. So, I'm sorry. Still terrible.
Still terrible. Still absolutely terrible. And like, I just wish his name wasn't Jim Crow. Like, it's not like, yeah, boy. And because it's like, it's also the most popular song and stuff. But Disney won't, for good reason. Like, there's no Crows merchandise.
Wasn't there there was something years ago, last year or year before, with Whoopi Goldberg?
Yeah, when she was getting her Disney Legend Award.
Yeah,
she was like, yeah, everyone knows that song. Like,
merchandise the crows.
Yeah, sell it. I mean, that is a discussion for people that aren't us.
Yep.
That is, I recognize this as like, whoo boy, but like, I can never really fully understand how that would affect somebody to see that, or to go into the store and see like a Hallmark ornament of these crows, and you push the button and they start singing the song.
Yeah. But like, here's the thing, though.
Just seeing a guy like me wandering around wearing a T-shirt with a couple of zoot suit wearing crows, using some period appropriate African American dialect or on the shirt or something, like.
Well, let me ask you a question though. Like, you brought it up though. Yeah. Now the shirt's one thing, but if they made like Hallmark ornaments of the crows, I would buy those freaking ornaments.
Yeah, well,
you can't tell me you wouldn't do the same.
Look it. I know who I am, and I accept the fact that yes, I would absolutely buy the crow ornaments and feel bad about it.
Like, this is terrible, but I love you some sweet crow merch.
So, yeah, I mean, there is very little in terms of the production outright about this movie that has much interest to it, because it was very straightforward animation style. It was done on the cheap. It was done quick and easy, and it came out when it was supposed to come out for the most part. Like, it was their 1941 movie, and they got it out by Halloween, before Christmas. The biggest, the war is underway, so that was a big hurdle for them. So they're not getting their European, but it doesn't affect the production of the movie too much. A little bit. It can't stop helping it a little bit, because of they're going to have shortages of certain things and stuff. But for the most part, it doesn't affect it. What does affect it is on May 29th, 1941, the animators at Walt Disney Studios went on strike. And it lasted for over a month. I think 5 weeks is the official length of it.
that is a whole nother podcast.
That is a whole nother podcast, but I feel like we should at least touch a little bit on like what happened, at least, because it's going to have major effect on pretty much everything from here on out.
Yeah, there's what's that documentary? It was a PBS documentary, American Life of Walt Disney. Disney has a really good segment about that.
Yeah, it has absolutely the worst piece of audio that has ever been recorded from Walt's mouth.
Yeah.
And it is him with a meeting that he held with the animators, basically explaining why they shouldn't unionize and why it's such a great place to work and why people who aren't getting raises and what have you. And, Walt look at Walt is a Southern boy business owner. Of course he's a very staunch Republican. Of course he doesn't want his studios to unionize. And he just comes across as the absolute biggest jerk throughout all of this. So he had his antagonizers. Art Babbitt was a major antagonizer of Walt. And they there's fist fights between them that got, they had to break up and, make sure they didn't they're going to kill each other if they're in the same room. We can't.
They don't fight. Well, I mean, so Walt's, stance on the union thing it's kind of a foreshadowing to his testimony at the McCarthy hearings.
Yeah. And pretty much after World War II, Walt is committed wholeheartedly to the idea that the communists are trying to bring down the studio. And they're the reason behind the strike and the unionization talks and everything. And there's certainly not any proof of that, but there is there's a couple okay, this guy was associated with the Communist Party in the United States and stuff like that. But a lot of this stuff, which is not what this podcast is for, because I can go into extreme details about the ins and outs of Walt's life, but that's not what this podcast is about, because this stuff also is why you get the rumor that never will die of Walt being incredibly anti-Semitic and things like that, because of the people he got associated with during this time frame, during the McCarthy hearings, during all of this, were not in the best interest for him or his studio, but he was so dead set on paying back anyone that did him wrong during this studio. I mean, during this strike, and you can look at the list of who they lost because of this strike. They lost, if you know anyone, if you recognize a name from these, they're pretty much gone. Tee-hee was always a good animator, because it had what are the chances you're a cartoonist and you go by the name Tee-hee? Obviously you lost Art Babbitt and Bill Teitla, Walt Kelly, a lot of these guys. And a lot of them go to the other studios. You're going to eventually get some of these people working to take away from Walt. You're gonna get this where you get Looney Tunes and things. Is now all of a sudden there's an influx of really well trained cartoonists going to the MGM cartoon studios or whatever. So
that would explain why Tom and Jerry was so well animated, wouldn't it?
So, by the time the strike was over, they had less than 700 employees at the studio. So, not a good time. The strike really sort of... and the strike also has an effect on Dumbo, because obviously it happened during animations. It slowed everything down, and you've got scabs and everything. And... some of the clowns in Dumbo are based off of some of the picketers. So
Oh, I did not know that, and
Yeah.
that's the worst thing.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, it's not the worst thing with this movie, but it's close.
Yeah, it's real petty. Like, you know. Yeah. So, yeah.
Walter has some similarities with another self-made
So,
businessman that you and I are well acquainted with.
yeah. It's
Whose product we may fall in and out of love with at times.
just listen. We'll just say it's a wrestling reference, and we'll just get on with it because
his name rhymes with Vince McCam.
Yeah. There we go. Um, but so I guess now we just got to get to. I mean, there's so much you could talk about with the strike altogether, because it really was. It happened during the heart of the production of this movie, and it affected the movie quite a bit. But that's. I mean, last week's episode was the Fantasia episode was almost 2 hours long, and
right, because it's a long
movie. We can't have this podcast run that much longer than the movie it's about.
Yeah, but there's so much stuff surrounding this movie, and so many things that you could culturally and like politically and whatever.
Yeah.
And again, JJ and I are not the guys to talk about that, but we can kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think if I can get you to just maybe read a story or look up news reports and stuff about the cartoonish strike and sort of learn about that stuff, I think that'd be great. It's an interesting story. It's interesting to see how that played out, what happened, what was the aftermath is obviously we're going to get to the aftermath real soon because after Bambi, you have the aftermath of both the strike and the war. So it's a double down on this stuff. So because Bambi was at least being worked on throughout all of this since the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs episode, they've been working on Bambi. So, it's not as it's his hands weren't as much tied behind what was going on in his universe at the time because a lot of Bambi's work had been done during the high times in the studio and stuff. So
there was so I was going to ask you, and it kind of entered my question in my head, so I'll go and voice it. Do you think this movie was helped or hindered by World War II?
This one, I don't think World War II had particularly, outside of money made, I think it was hindered in the sense where they felt the pressure to just make a quick buck movie. Because I think if the war wasn't happening, I think even with the strike, if the war wasn't happening, this movie might have been a little longer, maybe had some more gag scenes thrown in or what have you. Or if nothing else, would have been animated differently.
Well, the reason I ask is because, at the end of this movie, this movie comes in October of 41. Yeah. At the end of the movie, they can even say, like, the military buys a bunch of Dumbo airplanes.
Yeah.
And after the war breaks out, Dumbo is, like, on painted, and Dumbo insignias are, like, painted on a lot of military aircraft. And so also we're in World War II, so people need escapism.
Yeah,
you go to movies.
And so that's Disney, especially during the war, was very important. Disney has a very significant role in the war effort.
Mm-hmm. Good and bad.
Both good and bad, and I mean, there's really no place to fit this in because obviously during Bambi we could fit this in, and then during the Saludos Amigos and Three Caballeros episodes, you can fit this in and stuff. But I think now's as good a time as any because we're in the middle of World War II and we're about to enter the war as a country. So the studio ends up getting taken over by the United States military. Like it becomes a sort of, a hub for the military. And Disney no longer really gets to make movies at this point. They do. But they're now basically a propaganda arm for the military. So you'll see a lot of, the Fuhrer's face, and like Donald Duck in Nutsy Land, and a lot of war stuff. You'll see Chippendale cartoons and stuff. All the shorts were typically like they were working on other like military stuff. They were like, and you don't really make a whole lot of money from that. They cover production costs, and that's it. You're not making money for the next one. They're just paying you to get out this. They were doing educational like films, like what you would watch in school about like hygiene and like hygiene films and things. And they were working on like a Gremlins cartoon at one point.
The little guys in the airplane.
The little guys in the airplanes were working on that at one point. Never really came to fruition, but there was like a book and everything. Like there was never a movie, but like you can see a lot of Gremlins references to things. And for whatever reason, Walt became obsessed with a research paper, essentially, like a book, a story about victory through air power. And it was going to be how we were going to win the war through these long distance airplane bombing run kind of stuff. It's a weird thing. And he ended up making a like feature length movie based on this guy's like premise of how we're going to win the war with airplanes and stuff. And,
American propaganda news presents victory through air power.
Yeah, I mean, and
in the future, we'll have cars that drive themselves.
Yeah, and it exists. It's a movie that came out. It was relatively well received for being essentially it is the most blatant propaganda possible, because it's not really doing anything but showing you trying to sway opinion on using this guy's military strategy. So it's a very weird thing that exists, and Disney has a whole. It's not easy to find per se if you want to own it, but they actually did put out a box set when they used to do their Walt Disney Treasures DVD sets, and they have a whole set of Disney during World War II.
Which is fascinating stuff. Fascinating.
It is absolutely, of all of the Disney Treasures ones, I think it's one of the more fascinating sets altogether, because I mean, most of them are like, this is all of the black and white Mickey Mouse cartoons. This is all the colored Mickey Mouse cartoons. Here's the Donald Duck cartoons. Here's the Pluto cartoon. But they also branch out a little bit. They have like, here's the entire first season of the Mickey Mouse Club, or the Spin and Marty, or Zorro.
I've already voiced my my disdain for Spin.
They also did a couple, and like one of them was Tomorrowland, which also has some World War II connections, but it was like based when they was trying to get the theme park open, and you have like Werner von Braun, who, if anyone knows anything about World War II history, like he had a hand in sort of teaching, doing some stuff, and with Disney trying to like about rockets and stuff. And so yeah,
I am become Disney. I have become.
Yes. But yeah, so I recommend checking out the World War II one, just because it's fascinating, and it's also very fun to see. On the DVD, it's very fun to see Leonard Maltin trying to like let look.
Explain away a lot of things.
I have to explain to you why these are incredibly racist Japanese caricatures in these cartoons, and I am not going to pretend like it's okay, but
now I was going to ask you, was it true there was a song cut from this movie, right?
Typically, all of the movies end up having a song cut from them in some way, shape, or form.
But it actually got pretty close to being in the film. Like it was an ode to cheese or something like that.
Yeah. I think it ended up getting animated. I don't remember if it got animated or like at least got storyboarded.
I wonder if it was ever recorded. Like they ever record the audio for it.
It's unlikely. They typically, it's kind of one of the last things they do for a lot of that stuff, like with the exception of a couple of things. Like you might have like a voice actor going through it for, you know, storyboarding purposes and stuff or something, but unless it was fully animated or at least fully storyboarded before, not storyboarded, but, you know, pencil drawn beforehand or something, you're not going to really find a lot of that stuff. Unless it was just later on, you'll get fully cut scenes. Like, you know, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs had a fully cut song that was fully animated and everything, and they cut it out of the movie.
So I guess here's the big question about this movie. Okay, so runtime is 64 minutes, right?
Yes. What were they cutting for?
How is Tim Burton going to pad out a live action adaptation of this?
I mean, would it be the first time? I mean, yeah, how does Tim Burton pad out a live action adaptation? But also, how does Peter Jackson turn King Kong into a 3-hour movie? Like, or how do
debatably awfully?
Yeah, not well is the answer. You know, even like, you know, The Jungle Book wasn't a particularly long movie, and the live action one's longer. Same with Beauty and the Beast.
That's Beauty and the Beast had that little like, oh hey, here's
like if you just make it an hour and a half, you're only adding 20 some odd minutes to the movie. I mean,
so you do add a couple musical numbers, maybe
add a musical number, maybe pad out some of the other story plots. You know, lengthen out some of the circus performance stuff, stretch it out a little bit, do
turn
more.
Turn the crows into Eskimos.
That's not less racist, Nick. That's
no, they're just Eskimos. Hold on, Dumbo. Want some of this whale blubber?
But I mean, like, I will be interested to see what that turns into. Visually, Dumbo is a perfect Tim Burton property.
Yes, yeah,
because he has, you know, it will look all like Beetlejuice, like when he turns into the circus.
Like, yeah. I want Danny Elfman doing the score for it.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see how they touch what cultural reference they replace the crows with. It's got to be something.
Well, I mean, I imagine they can still do the crows with African American voice actors.
Have it
but
be,
not terrible.
Yeah, don't have it be just like this super like 2 on the nose hip hop trio or something. Like,
yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah, but like I can see it being like an actual band that they put in there and replace that or something. But that would be interesting. We kind of don't know anything about that movie other than the teaser trailer. So
I said that Helena Bonham Carter is probably in it. And Johnny Depp is probably Timothy.
Yeah, Timothy Q. Mouse is. But no, now I am curious. Do we have a cast at all for that movie?
Not that I don't. You know what? This is the point of the podcast where JJ and I simultaneously look at IMDb for things.
Yeah, this is the IMDb segment of a new segment of the. Danny DeVito is in it. Oh boy! So
Colin Farrell,
Ava Green, Danny DeVito, Michael Keaton. And Tom Hanks was reportedly in discussions for the role before Keaton was cast. All right.
Oh, and most importantly, Michael Buffer's in this movie.
Oh, okay. I'm in. I'm all in.
Now you're sold.
It's in January of 2017. It was announced that Will Smith was in talks to play the father of the children who develop a friendship with the lovable elephant after seeing him at a circus. However, Smith later passed on the role. So
let me ask you a question: have you ever heard a movie rumor where Will Smith wasn't in talks?
Yeah, it seems like you're already in the middle of a Disney movie. Let's share the wealth a little bit.
they're gonna make a movie about Lincoln. Will Smith's in talks to play Lincoln. Like what?
Yeah. You know full well that would be an amazing movie. So
I'd watch it.
Dumbo coming out next year, March of next year. So
are you worried about it? Because we've not seen a lot, and it's like what, almost 5-6 months away, and we're not getting a lot of details.
But at the same time, playing it close to the vest, Disney likes to do that sometimes. So,
or maybe it's just Tim Burton's call there.
And Tim Burton is he's very particular. So
eccentric is the word you could use. Yeah.
Yes. But I guess we can get to a little more of just minute details, because anything that we talk about from here on out is just going to be utterly depressing if we talk about more of the studio strike or World War II, which is which is just not.
People love labor issues and war.
Yeah, labor issues and genocide is just two things people come to when they see the word Disney in a podcast title. So,
and of course, it's our forte too.
Yes, exactly.
It's right in our sweet spot.
So yeah, so the movie made a good chunk of money. Cost them very little. Cost them under $1 million to produce the movie, which they hadn't done yet. Even Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Fantasia and Pinocchio were all $1 million budgets, $1 million plus budgets. That's almost, so 950,000 is virtually half of what it costs to make Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's also half the movie that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is, in a sense. Like, it's short, that they don't have the same level of attention to detail of animation and everything. So you have a studio strike, so you're working with cheaper employees for a spell.
Oh, you know what, JJ? Upon further research, Jim Crow was not voiced by an African American actor.
That's what I said.
I thought he was, and no.
The lead, Jim Crow, white dude, whiter than white, singing in the rain.
I think what I was.
The rest of the crows are African American.
Yeah, the fat crow is the same guy who was Uncle Remus.
Yeah. Yep.
Same guy. No, I must have glossed over that. Holy smokes. That just makes things terrible. And I'm sorry for bringing it back there.
Yeah, it makes it substantially worse, knowing that the Jim Crow is a white dude.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, Disney. Por qué? Por qué, Disney?
So yeah, the movie ended up making $1.6 million. So perfectly fine, successful movie. Gives them the money that they need to keep going. They do not have European numbers at all. So it probably would have been a $2-3 million movie if they had Europe in there. But
right.
It is their most financially successful movie of the 40s at the time. But things changed. The movie was re-released only a few times, not very often. It's never been re-released in theaters during our lifetime.
Nope. I've seen it probably.
Yeah. So 49, 59, 72, and 76. So
yeah, that's good 13 years before I was born. So.
Yeah. But little, just 76.
I feel like it was shown on TV a lot when we were
kids. It was like the first one, I think, to be shown on TV. I think it was like the first movie that they had air on television, which is
Well, it was for sure on Wonderful World of Disney.
Oh, absolutely.
I know they did. Yeah. I'm Michael Eisner. The story of Dumbo's a good one. These freaking clowns are a problem. The Crow's not so much. Here's the movie.
He really probably really felt like a circus ringmaster himself. So it was.
I always loved Michael Eisner. Like trying to like really to suppress the this frickin' guy.
Yeah, he's like, you could tell he's using every ounce of energy he has to try to be charming on camera, and it just makes him look like a cartoon himself. It was.
You could see the rage vein in his forehead. Just.
It's yeah. It was one of the first ones that they had on TV. It was one of the very first VHS tapes that they put out. Was Dumbo.
Yep. White clamshell case.
Yeah, and I think Dumbo and Alice were like their first couple of VHS tapes.
I think you're right.
And Laserdisc. I think it was probably their first Laserdisc too. It's a great Laserdisc because like you get like 30 minutes per side. You can fit the whole movie on a single disc. It's great for them.
You know, it's great flipping discs over to watch a movie.
But yeah, I mean, and it was very well received when it came out. Everyone thought it was just like, it's nice, it's sweet, it's charming, it's very kind. There's very little like the character is just friendly and sweet. Like the movie itself isn't, but it's actually probably one of the crueler movies because everyone sucks in this movie except for Timothy, Dumbo, and the mom.
And to the lesser extent, the crows.
And yeah, the crows start off as jerks, but they warm up. But also, I love that the movie, we didn't talk about the ending because it's not much. He just finally flies, and you get like 30 seconds of Dumbo flying as he just tries to gun down everyone.
with peanuts.
Like, that's just, if you were to make that today, everyone would be like, it would like, this is a colloquy. It's about school shootings in or something like. So I don't know how, like, it comes across as charming in this, but if you tried to do that today, I feel like people would not take to it as kindly as the kid that was bullied turns around.
Jeremy's spoken.
Yeah. That's gonna be Tim Burton's the credits song for
just Jeremy.
Just Jeremy. Pearl Jam's Jeremy is gonna be. But yeah, I mean, yeah, successful. People liked it. People enjoyed it. It's Leonard Maltin, who is the Disney sort of like critic guy. Like that's the guy they turn to when they need somebody to talk about stuff. Like I said, he's the one that introduces all of these Disney treasures and everything. And he says it's one of their most charming movies of all time.
How old is Leonard Maltin? Like in his 70s, probably.
Leonard Maltin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think by this point.
Okay. The reason I asked is I feel like we're at the point now where you should challenge Leonard Maltin to like a Highlander-style duel.
Yeah, so I just take over the Leonard Maltin's role of Disney, the guy that they turn to. I just come on TV every once in a while. It's like, in 1964, Disney was working on.
So you just decapitate Leonard Maltin, all this Disney knowledge flies out. Yeah. flies into you. Yeah. You know, you see like the silhouettes of the elephant. Yeah.
Ghosts of Winnie the Pooh and the old men of Walt Disney Animation. Just I get absorbed into my being.
Yes.
I'm here.
Make that happen, everybody.
This is so it has, you know, AFI obviously recognizes it across the board. It's not on any of the lists, but it's like, hey, Baby Mine is absolutely one of the 100 best movie songs of all time, but it didn't make the list. Kind of like it is one of the best movie songs, but you know, didn't make the list. But, not much. Like, okay, so our typical, like, there's not much else. Like, Nick, is there a video game for Dumbo?
Yes.
No, there is not a video game for Dumbo.
There is.
No, there's.
If Nuri Daisuke Dumbo not walk with circus for the Pico.
It doesn't really. Okay.
That's a real game. I'm not kidding. It's a real game.
I guess doesn't. It's not really the spirit of the bit here.
Hey,
but,
listen, I went and looked that up like 2 days ago before we were doing this podcast. I'm like, oh yeah, he's gonna say it's not a game, and it totally is. Naru Dasuki Dumbo no Waka Waku Circus.
Yeah, but is it? Is it going to be one of those stupid things where it's like it's actually just a mystery castle game that they just shoved Dumbo into, and it only came out in Japan?
It did only come out in Japan. I don't know. Like I watched some gameplay of it earlier. It actually looks kind of fun. The crows are in it.
Hey, that's Japan. We watched Dragon Ball Z. We know what their take on caricatures are.
Yeah. It looks like it's pretty much just like what I saw was like you're pretty much just flying around and popping balloon shaped like squares and rectangles and triangles.
It's a match 3 puzzler, is what you're telling me. It's with features Dumbo. It's an iOS game that if it came out a decade before iOS was even a glimmer of somebody's eye.
It's a Dumbo game using the Streets of Rage engine.
You and Timothy Q. Mouse fight off Mr. X's goons.
Hey, Dumbo, knock out that guy and eat that giant turkey.
Phone booth turkey.
Phone barrel turkey. No,
yes.
It was developed by Sega, actually. Sega developed the...
I don't think very many things on the Pico weren't developed by Sega.
All the things. Yes.
I think the only games that existed were Sega games because nobody thought that the Pico was going to do anything for anyone. So, but
no,
I mean,
the Dreamcast before the Dreamcast.
It becomes very a common thread will be like, or do they have a video game? No, but they are in Kingdom Hearts. You could just assume.
Yeah.
So it's safe to.
Was he in that what was that 3DS Mickey game? Was he in there?
I don't think so.
The one where you use a stylus as a brush? Was he in that?
Epic Mickey game. I don't think so. I don't think Dumbo appeared. Okay. Yeah. But okay.
I think he might be a Magical World for the 3DS.
I think it's safe to assume that just theme park related something, you'll see Dumbo pop up, because that will bring us to our next question. Is there a theme park attraction?
Arguably the most iconic theme park attraction.
Absolutely. And technically, it has a couple of theme park attractions. So you got Dumbo the Flying Elephant, which is obviously one of the most iconic Disney rides. It's just you sitting in Dumbo, going around in a circle, and you have control over if you're going up or down.
There's an urban legend about the Dumbo ride where Harry Truman refused to ride it because it was a symbol of the Republican Party, and he didn't want to be seen riding in it.
Knowing Truman, I doubt that's urban legend and probably just pure fact. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that's completely, totally true. But yeah, Dumbo the Flying Elephant is at all the theme parks. Like it's Disneyland, Disney World, Tokyo Disneyland, Paris, Hong Kong. If you go to one of the major Disney theme parks, you'll find it there. And also, both Disneyland and Disneyland Paris have the Casey Jr.
Yep.
So that's good. And, there's music and stuff throughout. And then there's Casey Jr. has a float, like when they were doing the Main Street Electrical Parade and stuff. So a very big and iconic presence at the theme parks. Unlike some of the movies that we'll see, it's going to be a little bit until we have another a major presence. So also, I guess the last bullet point we always have is there a sequel, whether it be theatrical or straight to video or what have you? And the live action remake does not count.
No, but not for lack of trying.
Exactly. It's the same song and dance.
Dumbo was in the opening credits of the Mickey Mouse Club, though.
Yes. you're gonna have the same song and dance for several of these sequels because like Disney didn't really know what they were doing. So it's like, yeah, let's make Dumbo 2. It'll pick up at the very end of the first Dumbo, and then John Lasseter comes in and says, no. So
on the 60th anniversary DVD, they kind of hint at a sequel. There's some of the bonus features.
Yeah,
there's actually like really strong like an indication that they're gonna do a sequel.
I don't even think it was so much teasing so much as they had like actual artwork. Like, hey, here's some storyboards and character designs. Like,
yeah,
they were making it, but like, yeah, they then eventually Lasseter took over in 2006, and this is the third time we've said it because the same thing happened with Snow White, the same thing happened with Pinocchio, and the same thing happened here with John Lasseter took over the studio and said, no, we're not making a sequel to this movie. And
which is funny considering it's John Lasseter because now he loves sequels.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm kind of Dumbo. Like, I don't know what that's like. You know, what story do you really need with Dumbo? I mean, I like that happily ever after. Now he's a major pop culture icon, and we don't need the downfall of Dumbo.
He's gambled it all the way.
Yeah, Dumbo behind the circus or something, some VH1 special of Dumbo. Like, we don't.
Dumbo is he's really in deep with the mob now.
I think the original idea was like, hey, where's Mr. Jumbo? And I think that really was what the plot of the movie was like.
So the Aladdin sequel then, basically?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, Dumbo, quick, easy, the controversy that surrounds it, like outside of the crows, which was a pretty controversial thing, but like the production issues they had were all sort of outside issues, not directly related to just the making of the movie, like some of the production is, and they didn't really have much problem like making the movie once they were making it. It's just a strike and the war kind of screwed things up. So, you know, they set out with the expressed vision of, hey, we're going to make a short, quick movie. We're not going to put all the bells and whistles in it like we have for the last three. We need to make money, and this is the best way to do it. And they did it. They accomplished exactly what they set out to do, and they made it. Considering how less of their heart was into it, I think they succeeded for the most part, even though it's not my favorite, like I said at the beginning, and I'm not really the biggest fan of Dumbo. It's still a charming, wonderful little movie. It's better than a lot of non-Disney cartoons, and it's going to be better than a lot of other Disney cartoons. So
indeed it is. And I love Dumbo. And you know, if it's people around my age, if you ask them like when they were, you know, if you'd asked me when I was 8 years old, like who's your favorite Disney character, I probably would have said Dumbo.
I know who
who would you? Oh, no, I'm sorry. When I was 8, I would have said Scrooge McDuck, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, for me, it was Baloo. Would have been Baloo.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I don't know. Just the laissez-faire attitude towards life is a really cool thing for a kid. Like, look, he's an adult. He's just doing whatever he wants. That's rad.
So if Baloo's your favorite character, is Thomas O'Malley 1A because of the same character?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
They're literally the same character.
Yeah, yes, of course. But yeah, and then he also owns an airplane. How cool is that?
Yeah. And then we got Operation Dumbo Drop because of that. Oh.
Yeah.
That's our sequel, JJ.
Boy, that now see, take Operation Dumbo Drop, but make it a tailspin movie.
Oh man.
Baloo.
Now I'm sold. But get Dennis Leary back in the movie.
Okay, I think if we just keep going, we're just gonna absolutely
off the rails.
Yeah, it's already off the rails. Like this Casey Jr. train, it can only go so hard, and
this podcast is longer than the actual movie now.
Yes, yes, actually, I do believe yes, it is officially as of right now. Longer than
we did it. We wasted everyone's time. Yay!
Yeah, just what I was trying to avoid, but we accomplished it nonetheless. Nick, I had a great time talking with you about Dumbo.
Likewise.
It was. I know you're a little disappointed in my opinions on Dumbo, but I think we did. I think we handled this discussion as well as we could while trying to skirt around some of the more difficult issues, like labor issues and war and racism, so, which is all of the controversy surrounding this movie. And as much as I would like to get into the nuts and bolts of the Disney animation strike, that will be a premium episode or sometime down the road or something.
For Patreon or our Patreon subscribers. Yes. But no, it's okay that I like Dumbo more than you do, because this podcast would be boring if we agreed on everything.
Exactly. And well, speaking of agreeing on everything, I think we can agree that Fantasia is still the best movie of the four that we've watched.
I concur.
But after that, our lists take a hard deviation because you said Dumbo is your number 2 at this point.
Yeah, yes, it is.
So Dumbo is my number 4 at this point. So, next week, finish your thought.
I was gonna say, like next week we might deviate even further.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what your opinion is, but you've alluded to it enough of what your opinion is about next week's movie, which is the movie that they've been working on for a substantial amount of time at this point, Bambi. A heart-wrenching movie for a child, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there next week.
We'll shoot that dough when we get to it. I mean, crap.
Okay. I have to turn this off now. I have to stop this. So we are now on iTunes. You can like and subscribe on iTunes, on Spotify. We're on Spotify now, so you can do that. And Stitcher. So pretty much anywhere. Should be Google Play by the time you hear this, hopefully. So pretty much anywhere you can subscribe and download and listen. You can go to DisneyCompendium.com. Just takes you straight to the website. I'm going to be doing some other written stuff for the website soon. Sort of annexes and,
Let us know if you want Jenny to write up a big long article about the labor strike.
Yeah,
because he's not busy. So
I'm not busy. I'm not working.
Nope.
But so DisneyCompendium.com. You can follow me on Twitter at _double_J. And Nick, you're DJ Jazzy Jones, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, I am.
And the official Twitter feed for the show is Diz Compendium. Don't really have. I'll start using it. It's there. I just needed to save it, but I'll start using it. But yeah, like, subscribe, review, email, tweet, whatever you want. Get in contact. I'd appreciate it. I'd love it. But until then, I'd like to thank you for joining us. Nick, I'd like to thank you again for joining me on another weekend, tying you up for another over hour.
My pleasure.
And until next week, have a magical day.
Bye.